It's exciting. The opportunities, the spirit, a lot of energy here this morning. A lot of senior people have come in. There's a real feeling of optimism, and despite the fires that are burning just around the corner and the smoke and stuff, no, it's really good to be here.
So talk to us a little bit about some of the projects that you're involved in. You spoke earlier about youth in Africa, and that's quite an interesting thing, because if you look at Europe, if you look at other developed world, we're looking at negative growth rates. So in Africa, it's a whole different story. However, there are obviously those hindrances, and bringing people back was one of the sponsors that is involved in this event in terms of the homecoming revolution. So talk to us about Thomson Reuters and their view around developing that youth and where the opportunities lie in Africa with regards to an entire new generation that potentially can be innovative and take markets to the new level.
Yeah, I mean, I travel the world a lot. I've got a global business. And I look at many countries where the problems I would describe as old problems. And without being rude, old people trying to fix old problems. And I was astounded by the facts. 600 million people under 25. Just think about the creativity, the optimism, the ambition that brings. And innovation is ultimately about people. It's not just about ideas, it's about execution of ideas. And young people, they bring a fresh perspective to it. So some of the things we've been involved in, I mean, we've been here for many years, over 100 years, but some things that happened recently are implementation of the benchmark currency rates, which I think is very exciting, a very big move for us. With several of the central banks, our rollout of Icon and Electron into the marketplace to bring that connectivity and data and information. I was visiting our World Check Centre in Cape Town. It's been there 15 years. Started by some very young people, some of whom still there. I mean, fantastic innovation all the time, because that's a market that in the last 15 years has just changed completely.
Absolutely, and I think that that's one of the exciting things. I mean, I was talking to Rob Shakai earlier, and we were saying, mobile technology in Africa is one of those things that is the access portal. So it's something that doesn't really happen in the developed world, whereas in Africa, that is the way that people access the market. And Thomson Reuters is obviously at the leading edge in terms of developing that so that it's in a format that's easily accessible for the man on the street. Let's talk about the strategy with regards to where you're going in Africa. I know that you've opened up your East-West operations, very exciting team that you've built. Obviously Snea taking over from Keith now, so that's also very exciting. Let's talk about the new strategy within the African market. You've been here for over 100 years, but this is a new market. I mean, this is a globally new market.
So a couple of things to point out. We are here. We're not trying to run Africa from Dubai or London or New York. We're here. So the first most important thing for an Africa strategy is to be in Africa.
Absolutely.
We're investing more people in Africa, more content people, more editorial staff, and news people. So I think that's a really important foundation. People like Sneha we have an African running Africa. We think that's very important to do, and she is in Africa. So that's fundamental to the strategy. I think the second thing is around partnership. One of our biggest values is around partnering with the industry and with the market to build the market. We're not here, as Snehal said, to just make money. We're here to actually enable the success of the continent and be part of that and help people do it. Partnering with the banks, our clients, partnering with the central banks, partnering with the people who provide the information that we can then collect and assemble and repurpose into the marketplace to make it more transparent. I mean, we are in effect a utility for that progression. That's what I call myself sometimes, and we're quite proud of that role and our ability to change and help markets develop.
Well, I think, even from a personal perspective, one of the interesting things that certainly changed in Thomson Reuters over the last little while is the investment in relationships. And that's been quite interesting to see. We're seeing it today, we're going to see it tomorrow again at the Congress, is just talking to one another, really engaging with one another, understanding the human perspective in terms of what are the hindrances, why are we scared, what are we excited about. And I think from Thomson Reuters' perspective, it's not just about a service provider, it's not just about a technological tool, it is about those relationships. So going forward into Africa, where are your biggest opportunities that you see, and what are your, in terms of the strategy around Africa specifically, how does the bigger developed nations like your US counterparts and your London counterparts feel about the African continent, just as a general overview and appetite?
A lot of great points in there. Let me talk about community just for a moment. We're a community builder. We're very proud of that. Trading Africa is one of our most successful community rooms. It has over 1,000 people every day exchanging thoughts, ideas, perspectives on the market. It's just one example where we can actually bring communities together as that utility that I talked about. In 2014, we had over 50 million posts in our community rooms.
Brilliant.
Which is just amazing. And a lot of those are not just people in Africa talking about trading Africa, but people in London or New York or Singapore talking about Africa. And I think that international dimension to how we can bring the world in as well as bring the information out is very, very important. We're adding to our private company database all the time. You know, Thomson Reuters has information over 100 million companies around the world.
Brilliant, yeah.
Many of those are now African because people in Boston want better trusted information of, well, where can I invest? How can I be trusted that I know I'm going to get returns? I understand the risks that I might have. I understand the regulatory issues and how to pass those as well. Those are sort of three things that people really want to understand now as they trade into Africa. And our role is to help on that information development. And, you know, whilst I think if I had a concern, it would be that we can be proud of what we're doing and what Africa is doing around information, but the world is moving very, very quickly. And we need to make sure there isn't an information disparity between Africa and the rest of the world, because the progress will be strong, but it won't be as strong as the rest of the world as information really starts to fuel global economies.
But it's really about, I mean, we talk about information in terms of the liquidity that's available, so the amount of data resources that we can analyze. Yes, in Africa there's probably less of those just by virtue of the fact that it's been it's really the last frontier market. However, from the Thomson Reuters perspective, in terms of the innovation that you're doing, I think that there's certainly a lot of upside in terms of building new ways of getting that information out there. And as you said earlier, I mean, you look after the risk and finance. Risk is the big issue when you come to Africa. What is our concern around how do we price credit? How do we assess whether this is a viable option? Are we going to get our money out? These are all key issues that people are concerned about. So I'd like to thank you so much for chatting with me today, and I'm looking so forward to the rest of this Congress, and I hope to catch you at the end and we can chat about what we've experienced and the outcome. I think the feedback from the people is certainly going to be interesting. So
thank you. It's going to be a great conference, and thank you for your participation.